if we're gonna have this these videos about what healing is, we have to kind of delve into, what it is that I'm healing from. What do you have to heal from? And narcissistic abuse is a very nuanced, complicated subject that we could go down a rabbit hole and be down there for months or years or longer. It takes a long time to understand, but I'm just going to tell a story just for comparison's sake, and then we'll go off of that just to get the ball rolling and just to have like a basic understanding. And the story goes like this. When I was a kid, we lived on a farm, and we were in 4-H. We would take animals as 4-H projects to the county fair, and I had steers that I would bring. A steer is it's beef cattle. A steer is just a male, a bull that's been castrated, and that's called a steer. That doesn't matter. Just it is what it is. So that's what it is. And so anyways, one night, getting kind of close to the fair, a couple weeks away, my steer got loose in the evening. I think it was after dark. And my whole family was out there looking for this steer, trying to, our farm was like surrounded by cornfields. It ran into the cornfield. We were out in the rows of corn. I think it was July when this happened. So the corn's over your head, and we're out there looking for it. And this went on for hours, and we never did find it and kind of herd it back in the barn. But what happened was it came back on its own. We went in the house, and then he ended up wandering back to the barn and coming back in there on his own. And that is the perfect analogy for narcissistic abuse. And I'm going to tell you why. That it struck me when I was a kid, like, why would he come back? Like, he obviously broke loose for a reason, and then he finally got out, and then he comes right back. I think it's obvious that animal spent its entire life on the farm, and he always got his food and shelter and bedding right there, and that was all that he knew. And he came back to that. When he got loose, he probably felt some sort of fear and knew that he was ill-equipped for life off the farm. This really, the relationship of a farmer and his steer is really a good analogy of a codependent relationship. That steer needs the farmer for all the things that I just said, for food and bedding and shelter and medical needs. The vet comes to the farm, and the farmer needs the animal for meat, or in other cases milk or eggs, or to make a living. And that's a codependent relationship. The farmer does not love his animals. It's a transactional relationship. If that animal got to feeling that the farmer did love it, stop laying eggs and see what happens. What'll happen is you'll become soup. That's what happens in that kind of a codependent relationship. And the whole construct is built on this. It's like a psychological illusion that the farmer is superior to the animals. In the case with that steer, from a young age, when you take these 4-H projects and you get these animals halter broke, so you can lead them around by a rope, like a horse kind of, and you take them to the county fair. A judge judges all the ones, decides which one is the winner, and so on and so forth. But that's what you're doing. You're training it to, you know, to walk around behind you and be halter broke. And that's what I'm talking about. The psychological illusion is that you have this animal that's 1,000 pounds of just brute force of bone and muscle, and that thing can break loose from the farmer anytime that it wants to. It can probably just barrel its way through the fence. If that animal knew its own power, it could not be contained. But that's not what happens. On the farm, it's this whole construct that it's an illusion that the farmer is some kind of like omnipresent being, in that every time that this animal tries to do such a thing like this, it gets beat or it gets its food taken away or whatever. And from the age when it was young, that's all it's ever known. So it thinks that the farmer is superior and that it's supposed to be submissive. That's how the whole illusion works. But we know that, but it is an illusion, because, and what happens a lot of times is you start halter training these animals when they're younger, so you can handle them. And then when they get older, if you're still having problems, you can tie them to like a tractor or something. You tie, they got a halter on their head, and then you tie the rope to a tractor, and then, someone drives the tractor, and then the person, the kid that it's 4-H project kind of holds onto the rope, and then that steer gets to thinking that this kid is dominant over it, that this kid can lead him around. Of course, it doesn't understand all the structure, the tractor and all the psychological tricks. That animal came from, its roots were once wild. It was long ago. I think cattle descended from oryx, maybe, but long ago, oryx roamed wild and free out on the land. They didn't need farmers. They knew their own power. They knew where to get their food. They knew where to bed safely. They knew where to take cover when the weather was bad. And this is really just and then this animal gets separated from its birthright of being like a sovereign being, like the creator made it to be able to do all these amazing things on its own without the help of anybody. But then somehow it got it came into captivity, and then for generations that's all it ever knew. And then it has the illusion that the world is just the farm, and that there's no, it doesn't know the world outside of the farm because it's never experienced it. But nature and the spiritual realm and everything, it's got a funny way of, like, that's in its DNA. Like freedom is in there somewhere, and it got to calling, and it can still detect it, and it was just answering the call of, like, I want to be free from all these constructs. And when it did get free, in that case, it just didn't have the knowledge to be able to be free. Of course, that animal can be free, but in times gone by, the oryx, through one generation observing another, learned how to survive on its own. But if you don't have that lineage passing down, you don't have that knowledge. And in narcissistic abuse, it's very much the same way. You have all this potential, but you're in the confines of the farm, this psychological illusion that there's a dominant being, and that you're supposed to be submissive, and there's no way that you can make it on your own, and this is the world. You're lucky I give you a barn. You're lucky I put food out for you, all that kind of stuff. And you get to thinking that that relationship is love, and it's not. It's transactional. Unconditional love is, to stick with animals, that's unconditional love is the love like your dog has for you. If you don't make a deadline at work, your dog still loves you. If you don't make your car payment, your dog still loves you, and so on and so forth. And unconditional love has no conditions. That's what we're supposed to experience from our parents. But some of us grew up in this transactional type of relationship, and then we have to break free of it and unlearn all of those patterns, and that's what this is all about. So that's just kind of explaining generally what it's